Hello, welcome everyone to this presentation of the new zine that we are going to launch and to speak a little bit about Alfredo Brandt project course. So, welcome everyone. I will speak a little bit and I give Alfredo the word. So he's going to explain a lot of details about the course and about how he made it. But I want to start by saying that this is a very great moment for us because we are launching a new output for a course. Usually we are doing exhibitions and books, and this time we are launching a zine, and so this is a special moment for us. Also because it's in 19th anniversary, so it's becoming it's an adult doing important things, so it's also a very important moment. And Alfredo has taught this course, and it was the first time Alfredo was teaching at Atelier, and so this course was a course designed by him. So I want to thank you, Alfredo, for your course and by imagining it and to make it happen. So last year it was one of the new courses that we have. We try to have new courses in each scholar year. So some courses are continuing from previous years, but each year we are trying to make something new, something fresh that is our view about the needs that might exist. So this course focus on portraiture was happening last year, and the result of the course is this magazine, and it's nº1. So we are really glad to have a new kind of output for our courses. Usually it's books and exhibitions, and this is the first for us. And so I want to congratulate all the students and Alfredo. So and and I want to also want to thank Filipa Laudes Vicente, because she was the one who put us in contact. So she's also she has to be included in the congratulations.
She's in the
So Alfredo,
acknowledgement.
I'll stop here. I'll give you. I want you to speak now. If then I need it,
Yes.
it's needed.
Thank you, Bruno, for the introduction and for the kind words. And yeah, it was a pleasure to start this course in the atelier, which is my first course, and it's a new course as well. And I was super excited with this opportunity to start teaching here in a school that has 19 years of history and has been like making a lot of books and projects. So it was really a super important opportunity for me. And the idea of the course came with maybe something that I realized that among the projects that were being developed here in the atelier, there were not many portraits in general in the whole production. So there was there are very different approaches, from archives to landscapes to more conceptual photography, even very experimental approach. But portraiture was something that was kind of missing in the as a one genre of photography. And I'm passionate about portraiture. It's something that I did in my career as professionally, commercially, but also in my personal projects, my artistic projects. And I was being very passionate about this topic about portraiture. And I think that when I was thinking about when I was thinking about the course, I realized that something that requires a lot of visual culture. So it's something that is a genre of photography that requires a lot of study. You have to. It's important to know what other people have done before, but it's also very technical. And it also requires a lot of practice because you're dealing with human beings, and this is something that you cannot control all the time. And so the technical aspect of controlling lights and the mood and the background in a portrait is very different if you think about the composition of a landscape, which has other factors, but that can be controlled maybe in the long term, because you can go another time and see the landscape and see and photograph an object many times during a year. A portrait is very much about an encounter of people, and so this technical and practical part of it is of the technique and the practice. It was something that I want to highlight in the course. So I thought about the course with these three axes, though: a theoretical part, a technical part, and a practical part, where the students would develop their own projects, and we would have critical discussions about the outputs. Um, yeah, this was the initial conception, and I think it was a very interesting process of understanding the topics that people want to explore. But yeah, we can talk about if you have other, if you want to comment on that, or don't know. I didn't prepare, but I can keep talking about the subjects they work on, or
The works themselves you want to speak? We can.
yeah, I realized that something that I proposed in the beginning is the idea that the portrait has to be something, could be thought as something between a place where you have the representation, because you need to represent other human beings, but is also it touches also the idea of interpretation. So it's about the interpretation of these human beings. So and so these two circles, they merge at some point, and there you can have interesting portraits, in the sense that the portrait is very related to the similitude, to the resemblance. So you need to recognize the person. It's something that it depends on the definition of the portrait. It's about someone who existed, who was present at some point, but at the same time you need also to give your interpretation of this person. And so I was also highlighting this somehow paradoxical nature of portraiture, that is very dependent on imitation, on mimesis, on the referentiality. So the thing that you recognize, you see the image and you recognize the person, and it's a person who exists, so this relation with reality. But at the same time, is a great portrait is also an interpretation, because you can also add elements in the way of seeing the person, in the way of representing the person, that says sometimes more about the photographer than the sitter, the model. So this was one of the points that it was a starting point for the theoretical part. And then we had also these more an overview of different approaches of portraiture, starting by a more European school of portraiture, and then seeing examples in a more documentary school of North America, and finally also exploring some examples from African photography. and to have a different overview of the different possibilities of portraiture. What else we did in this course? Well, then we started doing the projects, and we saw that everyone had very different needs according to portraiture, related to portraiture. So I think when I was writing and think about the text, I realized that basically there are maybe two uh, main lines, which is the idea of knowing yourself better, so self-representation and self-portraiture, but sometimes also using this as, in a more conceptual way, as José Ebella did, so using the idea of the portrait not only as the presence but also the absence of someone, and the other line would be more related to the alterity, so the idea of the portrait as an encounter, as a way of allowing that allow which allows you to meet someone, as in the case of Vanessa, as also in the case of Karen, who met couples that she didn't know, and she had to actually to do this performance of getting in contact with these people and entering this universe and transforming this encounter in an image. And so this is an aspect that we also highlighted in this workshop, that the portrait is also it presupposes an encounter. You if someone is if there is a sitter, if someone is being seen, there's someone who is looking at the person. So this idea that you can use this concept, this notion of the gaze in different ways, because it's about a shared gaze, like we were like it's a dialogue between two people, and it's interesting to explore this idea in different perspectives. When, for instance, in Kate's image, it's a mostly domestic space. It's also another theme that could appear in more related to this more subjective line of practice, is the intimacy, the intimate universe. So in this case, when you photograph your domestic environment, your relationships, and then you can, by doing that, we can understand that there are some points and some ideas that can have a new reading, a more broad reading, that can relate it to other people. Although the initial idea starts from a very subjective, a very particular, a very intimate story. So yeah, and then there are also different. If maybe you can.
Yes, you want to speak about each work a little bit, or
Yeah, maybe this could be interesting. Yeah. So, talking about this, starting with Kate's work,
that is called Afterward.
after work, yeah,
That's right.
which we have here, Mark,
The
the
model.
model, which is
The victim.
the victim, and it was interesting in the sense that we started. I think Kate had already the idea, the conceptual idea of the work, and then she found the way she would do the technical way to do what she wanted, and she quickly got into the production. She was producing these portraits because she managed how she wanted to produce this image. So this was something that in her case was very important, to have this coherence in the image, to make it more like a series, so you can see that the lights, the background, even the pose, the way of direct and interact is something that is controlling in this set of images.
Yeah.
And then in the
These are the photographs of a performance.
yes, yeah, this is very much makes me.
What performance was this?
Well, it was. I think it was the performance of the daily life. It is the performance of. It's about the time we spend at home, and I think that the theme which was, which related to a more broad subject, is the idea of when you have free time because we stop work and you are on your, how do you say that, the retirement, yeah. And so this idea of how your relation with, in this case, with the time and with the space, so this idea of how the body occupies the domestic space when the body is not on a working force anymore, in the sense of the conventional work, not is not the, in the sense that you have this free time and now you're supposed to enjoy your life, you're supposed to spend the time with the things that you want to do. So indeed, this is something that is a question that can relate it to a lot of different people and families who have people in the situation of having more time, spend more time at home. So this was a way of representing these issues of time, space, domestic environment, the, and also I think it also tells about the relation of two people who share the same environment, and how the banal things can become extraordinary in some way when you have the time to look. Really, something is really beautiful when you can have like look at things that you see every day and then find what is extraordinary, like small movements, small gestures, and framings that show like something that you see every day, but in a in a way that is unique in the end.
And continuing, we
Yes, yes.
continue.
Let's see the
Okay.
let's
So
see Karen work.
we were,
But you also
we were
maybe
in
you
the
can
universe.
yeah.
We were in the universe of a relationship, a very long and close relationship, and now we continue in that universe. Uh, you want me to speak?
Maybe we'll, yeah, if you
You
want
want
to,
to alternate?
we shift from
Okay. Okay. So Karen was that is here. Was very much interested in making portraits about couples enjoying their time together, and enjoying so much that they go to places, special places, to see the sunset. So Karen was chasing these couples that seemed to have a good time together, and wanting to photograph them near sunset. So this was a very huge work to go after. So this is people that Karen met exclusively for making these portraits. So it's there's a kind of how you say when you select a character for a play,
casting.
a casting. So this was Karen was doing a kind of casting, going to places where people could do these portraits, and meeting them, knowing them, and asking them to be part of this project, and also tell a little bit about their lives together. So these are couples that have the relationship. These are very young. They are going to marry, and they say that they don't care that people are saying that it's weird that they are so young and they married. They are around 21 and 23. So, and this was about the importance that Karen attributes to the way people relate in a couple. And so Karen also included in his project some self-portraits, some photographs that are her a kind of performance by digging, working the land. So trying to understand, it's a metaphor to try to understand the 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 way she feels about herself and about possible relationships with others. So I also want to ask something. This object that is the final result of the Alfredo Brandt's course has several layers. So there's the layer of the projects. Each participant in the course was doing their own projects, having the feedback and evolving. And so, and then we had a second phase that has to do with creating this object. So we were very
Yes.
keen imagining a particular way of designing each participant. So the layout of each project is singular, it's individual, and has very much to do with the nature of the project. So, for instance, in this case project, so we have this document of a performance that has something to do with the, the, um, the work Kate was doing, and these are indoors portraits that were made in a. So these are kind of identity photographs, and these are leisure photographs. These are landscape. These are photographs. Horizontal means that it's not only about us; it's also about what's what's behind us, what's next to us. So these are there's a dialogue between these two photographs, these two sets of photographs, and again here with the Karen's work, we wanted to have this first part with introduction to the project and then the couples.
Yeah, each work will have two or yeah two or three two or three spreads, so
yeah.
double pages. There's a layout, a basic layout that was established, but then for instance, like in the first page, you have the text, the name of the photographer, the artist, the title and the text, and but then in the other page it can vary according to the photographer and to the work. So we try to adapt to each one's not style, but each one's the quality, the nature of the image. So in the case of Vanessa, she she works a lot when she photographs a lot when she's traveling. She travels a lot, and she works.
She's traveling right
She's
now.
traveling
She's
right now. Yeah.
somewhere in Asia. That's why she's not here.
And she's interested in doing this documentary approach of the place where she go and trying to understand more about the culture. She's very interested in different cultures, so this is the start pointing for her, having this opportunity to connect with different cultures using photography. And then she got from a trip. She went back from. She decided to do the image in a trip she did in Afghanistan, and she brought a lot of images with different pointing to different directions, looking for people because it was representing people, né? Because this was a portrait course. And then when we were discussing about her project and trying to understand what were the motivations and what could be highlighted in this body of images.
Many images.
Many images, yeah. I think over 100 images edited. So a selection, she brought a selection of over 100 pictures. So we got into this small story that happened during the trip when she was fascinated by an artisan. We have his name here, Haji Mirzaman, which is a photographer who used a very ancestral technique which you can explain because you know exactly what he does, because this idea of the negative and the positive using a black and white photography. And actually he works in a very precarious conditions, and but he's still working as if with the same techniques, the same chemicals, the same camera as he had like for 50 years at least. And so she got to this place to have her picture done by the photographer, and her work is about this process. So it's a kind of a meta portraiture because she's making a portrait starting with the portrait of herself and making a portrait of the portraitist, which is so this kind of that's why we organized the image in this more dynamic disposition to have a kind of overview about the universe of this artisan who is still making a very old technique of photography survive in Afghanistan in very precarious conditions. So it's a portrait of in somehow we can say that is a portrait of the portraiture as a style, as the art of the lost art of portraiture, in the sense that what he is doing is still in some sense very similar to what a portraitist, a photographer doing portraiture would do. But there's this beauty of the gesture of choosing a background, of touching the negative and doing things manually. So is a process that is much more related to a kind of materiality of the image. And this is fascinating. This is something that is very important here for us in Atelier. That's why we print, we make exhibitions, and we put images in the wall, because we care about the materiality of the image. So it is in the sense that her work and this part of her work spoke to us as a very interesting approach, a kind of meta approach of portraiture. We have another page now. Then you go to Holy. So Holy, it was somehow an interesting continuation to follow after Vanessa's work, because it's also a documentary approach. She was very interesting and it's also about experiencing other cultures and using photography to be in contact with a different culture. So Holly is from the UK. She's been living here for a couple of years. I don't know exactly, but some years. And one of the things that she's attracted here is the universe of the small taverns, the tascas, which is a kind of a Portuguese institution, and she was fascinated by this atmosphere, by this universe. So we thought about, okay, we can try to see how a portrait project can work in this environment. And this was not a very easy task, because it requires time and also it requires a lot of communication to enter this universe and having the people there to be photographed. So what she did in the beginning was to bring friends to try the tasks and to go and to different tasks.
Portuguese friends, I
And
guess.
yes,
They has to be Portuguese, I guess. No.
yes, they had,
Portuguese
yeah,
friends.
they are all Portuguese. Yeah, they're all Portuguese. I think, yeah, in some of them were like introducing to the task to hold, because they knew the place, and she asked them to bring her to a task. And then she started working with other elements that can composite this more enlarged portrait of this Portuguese tradition. So she worked with pictures of the environment. So in this page you can see the tables, the atmosphere in empty place. When the task was, she would arrive very early, especially in the evening, but early when there were not many customers attending. And then also other details that relate more to these elements that make the authenticity of this place. Because, and we thought that this was really relevant in a sense that it goes against an idea of gentrification and homogenization of the city, which is a phenomenon that is taking place in Lisbon and other tourist cities around Europe and around the world. So we decided to go in this direction, to trying to create a more like broad portrait of this culture, of this Portuguese tradition.
But it's always a difficult task to shrink and to in
Yes.
a collective project. So this Holly project, she wanted to take it further and to explore it and
I think still an ongoing project, and this is also something that I think it should be highlighted. Is that it's very important that this is what we're doing is a zine, and zine is a format of publication that is considered to be non-commercial, handmade, homemade, more do-it-yourself style, and it welcomes ongoing projects. It's not always to. It's not like a book that you have like a definitive or a closed or a concluded project. This is a zine comes from. There are two. The word zine came from magazine initially, but also from fanzine. So it's these publications that were made by fans, so fans of music or art, especially music, or that would like print in their at their home, doing by with the means they had, and to show like a journal of someone they were falling, or people who would like have similar tastes, like writing poetry or writing small stories. So this is about niches of people that want to share and to diffuse their production. So in the sense, this is I think is important, because I think for all these almost all of these works they can continue, and the zine is the first moment where you can stop and see with a critical distance what is your production becoming, and you can put that beside other works to see how they communicated. So having this theme of the portraiture define it, and having the projects like the one of Hole's project that can continue, we thought that the zine would be the perfect medium to show this idea of an ongoing project, a project that can continue. And I think that's in the case, especially in the case of Holy, is what she wants to do. She wants to continue a project that is not that is very difficult to achieve in 5 months, which were the time of the workshop. It's a project. It's a long-term project. If you want to keep going to the tasks, getting close ties to people and invite people is something that is difficult to make in 5 months. So also in this sense, the zine was an interesting format for us.
and it was a teamwork because we imagined the editorial project and we
Yes.
had a lot of help from João Corvo for the production and also um, being involved in the editorial project, and finally Filipe Rosa has made the graphic design. So we are so happy with this new object.
Yeah, the zine is supposed to be this collective work that people who have a common idea and want to share this idea with other people. It's and it requires the participation of different people. One helping with the design, other helping with the editing, someone else helping with the technical part, which was the case of João, taking care of the printing process. So yeah, it's a very collective work. That's interesting in the sense that you can. It also, I think, the final result also says about speaks a lot about this collective and collaborative process.
Yes.
And I think this is the
Yes.
funny and the nice thing of doing a zine, because you don't have. It's also something that it gives a lot of freedom for experimenting, because it's not like
Yeah,
this
a
very
book- a
sacred
book- yeah,
object
a
of the
book is
book
more,
that
let's say,
is
serious.
it's not like a monography that has to be validated by
Yes.
the editor, the printing house, the curator, if it's a monography of an exhibition. This is a free format that people can flow, and they can put their image and see how they communicate to each other. So the the layout started with what the participants sent to us when they had more or less their image selected. They send for, in the case of Karen, in the case of also Annabella, this disposition, it changed because it's a collective project. So we had Bruno, we have Felipe and João giving also their suggestions, but in many cases the initial idea of the disposition came from the participants when they send us like the first PDFs with their displaying, like playing with the image by themselves, and then we adapted that to this format because you had to follow somehow a layout to include all the works in this format of the zine.
And we also were interested in the sequence of the projects. So they are not random. For instance, after the work of Oli with this the Tascas project, so after the Tascas are closed, the chairs are put, the chairs
Yes.
are empty and they are put like this over the table. So this for us made sense to have this work from Bella. It's written Annabella, but she likes to be called Bella. And so she's interested in the absence. The chairs is so absolutely a place where people sit. It's something that is inescapable. A chair is meaningful when someone is seated on there. And so Bella wanted to have that insight of the importance and the frequency and the number of people that have already been seated on those chairs. That the chairs themselves they have a so long history of people being seated there that the chairs become they had the right to be photographed as being the place where so many people that could have been photographed or have been present.
And also as an absence, like as a portrait of the possibility of someone having been there is like it's a more conceptual approach in the sense that you don't see people,
Yeah.
but we can imagine that these chairs were occupied by people. So she was interested in. She started with a more intimated projects, taking pictures of her domestic environment, and also it was also related to intimate relationship that in her private life. And then she decided to, because it was also a reflection of what was going on her life in a personal level, to show this kind of in, incommunicability, this when it's impossible to communicate because the relation broke up. And then she uses the chairs as the symbol, as a symbolic object for this absence of communication, when they chairs that were used to accommodate two people in a conversation, in a relation, in a face-to-face moment, became empty place where we just have the memory of what was a relationship, of what was an encounter. And then interestingly, it closed her page with this chair upside down in a large image, which somehow says that okay, we have to reinvent what kind of relationship and what kind of and the use that will be done by this chair. And I thought that was really interesting conceptual to think that chairs are like in the task, they are the same, they are in the same position, but many different people and many different encounters, but the chairs are the same, and they'll be just facing each other. They are like they're not eternal, but they'll be there having serving as this encounter, which is the principle of portraiture, an encounter for a long time in tasks, in house, in domestic environments. So this was a beautiful symbolic element that she decided to work with. And so we have these invisible portraits of Bella.
And José Pedro Soares has something to do with absence. It's a self-portrait that has been erased through an intervention over the image. So this has to do with absence also, presence and absence at the same time. So so José Pedro wanted to work in this with these interventions. He tried some of them, he made some of them, and in the end, this was the one that we selected.
Yes.
You want to speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think it's a unique case in the among the projects because he worked with only this image. So it's a kind of it's a diptych. You have like a two image, his self portrait, and this is almost like the right side. This is the cover of a book with a lot of handwritten intervention. So he worked, and you have his object just in the light.
Yeah, it's in that room,
the room
the object.
in the table on the right, in the light table. And he wanted to use different. He was experimenting different techniques to imprint the image, the photograph image, in different surface. So he came with this image that was original digital photograph of him. That now we see only some shadows and some volumes. And by doing this process of printing and reprinting and imprinting the image in different surface, he started to be interested by this materiality of the photographic image. So his image was actually, this is the reproduction. I think it's the only image in this book that we can call as, this is not the photograph, this is the reproduction of an
Yes,
object.
yes.
This is different a difference if you compare to the other image in this book, and so it was this more experimental and work about the materiality of the image and how he was interested in this idea of how the self can be erased when you get into a more conceptual work. When so it's almost has his image in the left side starts to disappear when in the image with the reference of literature and the tags and the image he was handwritten, it starts to appear. So almost as you have to efface yourself to other things from your reference, from your own psyche can come to the fore. And so this was very unique approach that we had among the projects. It's more related to an object, almost as a sculpture or
Yes.
how to say gravura, this
Engraving.
engraving. Yeah, it's almost like engraving. He used engraving techniques to do some of the process of printing and imprinting.
And finally, the last project,
Is the last.
Knut.
So coming from also these, also respecting the narrative of the zine. This is something that Bruno can talk better than anyone. This idea that as we use the chairs to the image of the tasks, and then to make this transition using the text. I think here also we have an interesting transition, not only because the register is also in black and white, as in the case of José, but Knut is a different approach, a very personal and subjective narrative about an experience of chemical dependency, and he shows what was his experience trying to overcome this process of chemical dependency. So it's very much about when he started this project. I thought about the word that came to my mind was vulnerability. When you you decide that you need to use photography, and in this case portraiture, but also other kind of image to speak about a vulnerable state. And it's very brave from one to approach a kind of situation like this, using exposing oneself to and then I told him that, yeah, this is great, you should work in this direction, and try to make something about more symbolic about what you have been living through. And then he did this interesting, on the left page, these interesting interventions about
Over the image, right?
over the image, which were handwritten with different formats and more like vignettes. And it was about, you see the words here, maybe you have the zine here so you can read. You have the word borrowed, location, blurry, processing, and here I think is also location. So these words and these images and the words with the image, they give also some clues about what is the atmosphere around these work, this very personal
It's
work.
important to say that Knut had a very intense and very successful professional life. And with the retirement, by lowering the amount of work he had, he faced a moment of boredom. And he had a history of drinking too much, taking too many pills, and so on. And so it's his process of getting rid of that, because he had an incident at a certain moment. There's a piece missing here that we will, in the final object, there will be a piece here that his phone received, he fall when he was alone in holidays.
Yeah.
He fall on the floor, serious situation. He vanished, and his watch sent a warning message to some people to tell, look, Knut has had some problem. He has fallen. We register an impact, so he has fallen.
Yeah.
So he for him it was really the getting to the bottom. And so this project is showing in a very brave way, as you said, showing is changing, is getting rid of these the dependencies, and getting back his life.
Yeah, overcoming this
Yes,
process,
and
the process of overcoming.
Getting back his life. And I want to say about this project one more thing, is that one of the things that is very important for us in Atelier is that the students are really involved with their projects. They are not doing something just for doing. So this is a perfect example, by showing by being so honest, showing what he's been through. This project is amazing. And one another thing that is very interesting, I don't know if you know why the self-portraiture become more important in Knut's work. Martin told you. Now that he had a class with Ana Janeiro that works in self-portraiture in the process and production course, and that was influential for Knut's deciding to make this work. And also one last thing about this, the sequence, is that now we make a full circle, because the first project, Kate, was about being the retirement. And so we have these two, the circle is closing, and we are so happy. We are so happy.
Yeah, no, this
We
is
are
very
really
interesting,
happy with
because
this
you see
new
like how
project, and I'm so congratulations for everyone, Alfredo, and
for us and for the
students
participants
and
we have here,
and the
two of
sitters
them.
and the models. So this was an amazing and a group project. So we are very happy, and we hope that this is the first number, and many will follow.
Yeah, the idea is that to be a series, and as we We'll have other courses. We'll publish the zine number, the volume 2, and will be like an ongoing series.
Well, we will have to make some changes because we have to do what's after
Yeah.
after the second edition of your course. So, are we closing? You want to say something else, or we are asking? We are opening to the audience if someone wants to ask something or to add something. Yes, Guy, please.
Just a quick question.
Pode ficar aí assim, tá bom.
In,
Não, fica.
in the introduction of the magazine, you mentioned that sometimes, I mean, most of time, photography, in portraits in photography are going in a seemingly opposite direction. One is experience of intimacy, and the opposite is politics of alterity. I would like to know if you can develop a bit um, this hiatus.
Yes. Yeah, I think it's something that portraiture allows is to explore very different subjects, and but they complement itself in the opposite direction. And I'll explain what I mean by that. I think what is interesting is that if you work in portraiture going to other cultures and trying to see different people. So this idea of authority, the politics of authority, and with all the ethics that are required to work with other people and assume your position as a photographer, because many times it's a very unequal position. If you do that with justice and with coherence, uh, in the end, you can find yourself in the outside world, in the other people. So it's a way to meet yourself and to connect to yourself by going outside, by trying to see the external world. And in the other hand, we can also say that a portraiture process or project that is very much about intimacy, be it self-portraiture or taking or documenting your domestic environment and your intimacy, can also be shared. There are some emotions and some feelings that you can explore and that you can find in these particular and intimate situations that are universal, that can also be experienced by other people. So in the case, and I think like as example, in the case of I think Knut's case is very telling because it's a very personal experience that we share, but can have like a huge impact in terms of other people that recognize themselves in these situations and seeing that this idea of overcoming, of show, because it's important to show vulnerability, and I think this is the lesson that it's a very universal lesson and very it's not enclosed in his private work. And so I think it goes in these two senses. That one, when you go to the external world, you can always find yourself, and when you go to the very intimate and the personal, we can find we can reach other more like universal themes. I don't know if it answers, but yeah.
Ultimately, don't you think that there is maybe through the media of photography just different levels of intimacy or alterity? Means as soon as you take your camera, even if you are doing, for example, a very intimate, like a self-portrait, a very deep intimate, and now there is bunch of projects like that, looking really deep into themselves. I wonder if as soon as we use a camera, it's not a way to put a bit of distance between the subject or the people, even if the people is himself, and that finally maybe there is only different level of alterations.
Yeah, it makes sense if you think that it's all about encounters and that even self portraiture could be an encounter with oneself and that you're just using the camera to mediate your image and the word. But I think this is also the interesting thing of portrait is that in the encounters you cannot control everything. So even if you try to control the situation, even if you are part of this intimate place and you feel very comfortable and you can move in a certain space and take pictures of the people who live who are in this environment, you can never control everything. And then in these errors or surprise or failures, you can find other approaches that are about you, are about the world. And I think it's a very rich approach in photography because, especially because we cannot control everything. Because if you control everything, you lose a lot of spontaneity. You lose. But you can do that in commercial portraiture, in social photography. But here they're trying to develop something that were not only about themselves, but about other people that are I think all goes to this idea that I want to tell it also this because it's also, maybe you will remember Karen Kate that in the first course I asked you to write what's your definition of portrait and what's your definition of photograph portraiture. And then I took this yesterday. I took the small notes to read what you written, and it's very interesting how what you showed is goes far away from the initial idea. That and the initial idea to relate with what you're saying is this idea that we can capture the essence of a person by doing a portrait, and this is not true. You cannot capture. It's just an interpretation. It's just some is a negotiation between what the person gives to you and what you are able to capture, and having the camera as a filter, an intermediary filter. So, and then in this process, you assume that, you negotiate that, you show the artificiality of the medium as well, and then I think you can communicate. And the idea is communicate feelings and well, portraiture goes a lot about also the humanity of the human side of the emotions, because you are dealing with the body, the face, the gaze. So I think it's a technique, a process that you can talk about politics subjects, you can talk about very personal, but in a very humanistic, not humanistic in the sense of humanist photography, but in the sense of human possibilities, human values, human relations, in the sense of these, the authorities, there's a philosopher that said that the authority, the face-to-face encounter is what prevent us of killing each other. So if we see one person and you accept the person and the person accept you, that's why you are not killing each other as other animals would do, because this is the ultimate authority place, is the face-to-face encounter. So I think, yeah, this is the richness of this technique, this gender of photography, or this approach, or this style, if you may.
And talking about alterity and politics, do you at some point during the course, did you think maybe of doing a part of this magazine as a collective work?
Yeah, like mixing the
Mixing
image.
with
No, we didn't thought about spreading all the image from different participants because I think because as I told you, they were starting their work. For some of them, it was the first time they were dealing with portraiture, so they have these. I think they needed to feel in a security place where their image would represent what they want to convey, and I think would be very challenging. I don't know if we would manage and would be successful in mixing all the images, maybe for a different kind of zine with a different, maybe if you had a theme in portraiture, maybe if it was like only portraiture and the politics of the self or only self-portrait, maybe if it was more precise or more specific the theme, maybe we could, but no, it wasn't something that we considered to mix and make
No.
because it's true there's some zines that are like you just dive into the collective work and you see different images that communicate with each other, and sometimes it's very interesting because you have very different images and they will tie relations among them. But in our case, no, we wanted to have this space of security for everyone to develop in this very short term because in this very short time, because 5 months is a short time to develop works that are very ambitious. I think they are all ambitious. They want to tackle complex themes like retreat, chemical dependency, love, the materiality of image, absence. They are all difficult subjects. So that's why we thought that would be more interesting to and more clever to keep them with their space, and so they, and also because it would allow each participant to play with their image and see how they communicate. And this was important in the selection process and finally in the layout, right?
Yeah, sure. I would like to give word to Karen and Kate that are here. They are.
Yeah.
I would like to have some words about you. What are? Do you want to say something? Do you want to add something? You were not. Kate, do you want to say something?
No, I don't have. I don't.
Do you? It was okay what we said about the word.
Yeah,
the word?
absolutely,
Okay,
absolutely.
Good. Okay. And what about you, Karen? Do you want to add something?
I'm happy with the work, with the result. We haven't spoken about it, but I'm glad that I managed to get the first couple like I planned. So I think everything came really in its proper timing and it fitted well. And the whole zine together looks really well for presentation and layout. Looks really like following the sequence, the stories of each project. So thanks for both of you. We learned a lot.
Thank you so much.
It was very interesting, and I really enjoyed work with you and the others because the approaches were very different. It was a very rich group, interesting discussions, and hopefully have more interesting groups to do interesting publications like this one. And I hope it will be just the first one of a series of other zines. That's why we put the #1 here, because we hope that will be second,
Yes.
third, and
Yes.
it will
Yes.
continue. And
19.
No, it's more than hope.
maybe the format will.
It's more than
change
hope.
somehow,
But,
but,
it's more
yeah.
than hope. It's more of a certitude.
And thank you, bro, for welcoming me to this
Yeah, it was
first course. And
Yeah, it was amazing and very
nice.
good. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
Filled out in salsa.
So now we are going to make a toast for the 20th anniversary. So who wants to have a beer? 90s.
You're
Getting
in the
to the
20s,
20s.
yeah.
I said 20s.
You said 20s. Because it starts 2 years before. It's like this
Yeah,
big
exactly.
thing, so you have 2 years to celebrate.
Yeah, it's like a baby. He's already 9.